Tonight, I get to introduce you to the woman that changed my life. And I don't say that in a small way. I am so excited to introduce you to Diane Kniowski. Good evening, Diane.
Good evening. So nice to see you and so nice to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Because of you, we have been personally debt-free for years.
Yeah.
And
So happy to hear
we're
that.
not going to talk about that story tonight. We're here to talk about your story. Diane is retired. She built a career in media. Some of you may recognize Wood TV8, WOTV for Women, right here in Grand Rapids. Then she moved as those local companies were purchased. She was elevated and elevated and elevated in her career, moved up the corporate ladder, and ended up in Miami at one of the largest Hispanic TV stations, an $800 million company, and retired as president of that company. And tonight, we get to hear her wealth building journey, which I'm sure when you started, it didn't feel like a wealth building journey, did it?
It never occurred to me to have a wealth building journey when it started.
It does not feel that way.
I was just trying to buy a new car.
So I want all of the viewers that are viewing live to know that we are going to reserve some time at the end for Q&A. Trust me, you're going to have questions for Diane. And so make sure to hold your questions for there. But if you would like, if something she says really resonates with you, please let us know in chatting. If you're watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, anything that you put in the comments, we will see if something's really, really, really impacting you. So Diane, take us back. Let's talk about the foundation of where you started, where it all began. Maybe when you asked yourself, how did I get into this mess?
Right. So I grew up relatively in a big Italian family with not a lot of money. And I think all along, my family was about, if you want it for yourself, you have to figure out how to get it, because we can't get it for you. We can't afford it. And so I just want to set the stage that the things that feel like a negative in the beginning end up being the biggest assets that you have, which is, don't wait for somebody else. You're going to do it for yourself. Right. But I just was trying to get a car. You know, I was driving some old junker and I saw the sales guys in BMWs and I'm like, I don't even have a radio. So I started making decisions about, let's just buy a new car. And then, you know, always I wanted to have the dream of a house. And in the early 80s, my aunt, my beloved aunt, passed away and left me and each of my brothers and sisters $7,000, which was a ton of money. And I bought a house with it. And I was living with this guy and I kind of wanted out and he wanted the house. So he actually paid me back my money plus another 10,000 and took over the house. So I made $17,000 and I paid off my car. I had bought a new one, but I bought a little Mazda. It did have a radio, but no floor mats. And I put $10,000 in the bank and I didn't have a credit card. And it was the first experience I had at what I felt was like debt-free accomplishment. Like I didn't have a car payment that I had to make. I had taken care of that for myself. It was a new car. I figured, okay, it's going to give me 5 years. Now what do I want to do? And I actually didn't go back into a house. Ended up being in an apartment and moving around a little bit. But I moved to Dallas, Texas, because my sister lived there and that's where everything was happening. And I was I had a communications degree, right? And so I worked my way through my career. And every place I joined a 401k. I really didn't know a lot about it. I didn't take the time to learn about it, but I knew it was like having that savings account. And I still had that $10,000 that my goal was going to be to get it to 100,000. And I actually gave myself 10 years, which is a long time to do that.
Yes.
Because I didn't know any better. But I remember when I hit 100,000, I had a bet with another guy and he beat me. He hit 100,000 too. And that was like, a big excitement. I felt like if anything happened, I wasn't thinking retirement. You're in your 20s and your 30s. I was thinking I had a nest egg and I had something going for me.
Well, let's a couple of things. So your first lesson was you learned what it felt like to be debt free.
Yes.
Diane, so many people are graduating college, they don't even know what that feels like. And maybe they never will because they'll have college debt, then car debt, then mortgage. So
Right.
just so you can share what that feels like, what did it feel like to you?
Well, for college, here's the other thing. Look, I didn't have money to go to college, and I went and joined a program called Upward Bound, in which 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, I had just been in a dorm. This program tried to help people who were economically challenged because they pretty much understood that it was a barrier to getting good grades and going to college. You usually grew up in a house that had a lot of chaos. You really had bad study habits. You didn't read well. So those summers doing that, I ended up not having that college debt. By doing that program for 3 years in the summer, I was given a 4-year college degree, and they tracked our entire class of Upward Bound for that whole 4 years. And so I only had $1,500 of book debt. Like everything I wanted to do, I found a way to kind of get it paid for. But here's what I want to tell you. I had no idea how that degree would pay off or not pay off. I just didn't have the money at the time. And I think the dilemma for everybody now is, I hear it a lot, is I don't want to take on that debt and then I can't get a job that pays enough, because that's what I started to see when I became a boss with my employees, is that they had a lot of debt and it was more debt than what the degree could pay. It just was
Ever
down.
pay. Yes.
Yeah. And I could
So
totally relate to that.
so you are resourceful, you look for opportunities, and you said you spent your summers 10th, 11th, and 12th grade
Mhm.
going doing the work to get
Living in
you
a
this
dorm.
education
Yeah, all my
at
friends were
a
at the beach getting a tan, and
exactly. Nobody wants to be in a dorm in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade prepping for college.
no,
You
and my mom was like, "Do whatever it takes, honey, find a program," right? So I remember coming home one day saying I found a program, but then I actually had to work the program.
That's right. You got to put the action in.
It
I
set this
think that tells so much about you.
well,
So you learned what it was like to be debt free.
yes, I learned that, number one, right? And I learned also that being debt free required work. And that whole 3 summers, it was not convenient. It was not fun. It was, you know, it was uncomfortable. It was, I was like grumpy. But I knew the payoff at the end. So I went through it. And I think that helped me set the stage for the stuff that was coming. So, yeah.
But I love what you said earlier. Excuse me, before we went live. You make your own success, and it's not easy or convenient.
No, no. So flash forward like 20 years and I'm married. I've got a house with a swimming pool, 2 cars, a lawn service, a snow plow service, the whole thing. And our friends were buying property in Florida. Okay, so I flipped it and turned everything upside down and put myself in a very bad place. And this is what I want to share, because everything is fixable, and you just have to be real and honest, and then you have to have a plan. To get wealth, you have to have a plan. To get out of debt, you got to have a plan. So I find out that these friends are investing in properties in Florida, and my husband was like, we should do that. And so we go start looking at these properties. Now, the Florida properties were gorgeous, but they were at a high price. And so we got a group, 3 couples together. Everybody contributed $100,000. We had $300,000. And we're going to go to Florida and we're going to buy some properties and we're going to rent them. Now, my right brain that's thinking, okay, don't bite off more than you can chew. We should buy one property, see how it goes, right? Oh, no.
No. We're gonna buy
We
4.
just made one stupid decision after another. We bought 3 Florida properties, and then one of them, a 4th one we bought, wasn't even built yet. You could go to the builders and they would give you a discount for pre-buy. And okay, so we, as a couples, agreed what the rent was going to be, and we get them rented, and right, we're doing this thing. Now, a couple of them, what we find out is you can't rent it weekly. We're so dumb, we didn't bother to really check the things. Yeah, so the one most expensive property, you could only rent it one time in a 9-month window. So
we're just gonna take a minute to plug RVNU residential and commercial. That's something that we do with you, the due diligence, to make sure that if you are buying an investment property.
Why didn't we contact an organization like you? We should have done that. It's not like we weren't smart enough to know better. I mean, we were all pretty smart, educated people, including a banker. So why didn't we do the right things? I honestly, to this day, I can't tell you. But something in my gut was telling me like I grew up knowing if you can't really make the payment yourself, like you shouldn't put yourself into that place. But here I went, dove right in.
Sounded like a good idea. So you're living in Texas, but these properties are in Florida.
I'm living in Michigan now. I've moved.
Oh, okay. So you're
in Florida,
out of state investing.
Out of state, right? So we're renting them, and it's going really well. And then remember that big, huge property, financial property bust in Florida. Okay. So all of a sudden, a year and a half in, when we're thinking, oh, we're so smart, right? The market crashes, and every one of those properties took a 50% nosedive, and rent took a 75% nosedive. There were people that were living for free in some of the properties and not paying any rent because there was such a glut, and people want to have people inside their buildings to take care of it. So all of a sudden, we lost our renters. We lost the value of the property, right? So here we are. So we had to give up on the fourth property from the builder. That's the first thing we did. We had to lose the money we invested. And then on the other three, we're like, what are we going to do? So we did contact a lawyer. We did contact a realtor. And, the thing is we had a really good realtor and lawyer, but there was definitely a glut of properties. Now, at the same time, so here we are, and it's this, huge amount of money and responsibility. At the same time, I find out that that's not the only place I'm having financial problems. I find out that my husband has a girlfriend. He has credit cards charged up to almost $100,000. There is a note I didn't sign, taking $100,000 towards our house. There were,
but your signature was on it.
Yeah,
but you did not sign it.
Did not sign that. And then there was other things like I find out that he got this really big bonus, and I find out when I'm doing the taxes, I never saw that money, and I realized, okay, yeah. So my whole life is blowing up. I'm the general manager of Wood TV, WOTV. I need to look and act responsibly. And what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to look and act responsibly for this too. Now, I didn't talk about it with anyone because it's not anybody's business but mine. But I made one promise to myself. No matter what happens, I am going to get out of this, and I am not going to file bankruptcy. I'm not going to not pay things, and I'm not going to have this buttoned up. I am going to take charge. And if I had those gut feelings and didn't pay attention to them before, screw it. I'm going to hit this thing full blown. But it was really kind of devastating because I had the house I was living in. I find out, okay, I can't sell it because I've got a $100,000 loan. So all the properties went into short sale. And I've got 4 that are, one in Michigan that I'm living in and trying to sell, and then the 3 in Florida. And so, I did get a lawyer, I did get an attorney. And here's the other thing I did. I was like panicking. And so I found Dave Ramsey's Get Out of Debt, and I went through his program and his workbook. And I created literally a book, a little budget book for each one of the properties, because the properties, I remember the air conditioning going, and I'm like, I don't have any money. I sold some of my jewelry. I did whatever I had to do to be responsible, because I believe about the momentum, right? I believe that I have to keep pushing it through no matter what, and that going to come out okay on the other end.
Well,
So
you've been resourceful since you were a child.
well, that is my best asset. And I call it the waters we swim in. The thing that you're most challenged with growing up becomes the thing you're most comfortable working with when you're in these other pickles. Because I knew, it's not that I was comfortable in this debt. It was that it wasn't going to intimidate me and wear me down. And so I actually called the president of Citizens Bank in Detroit. It was a woman in her 40s, to talk to her about my situation and how I wanted to approach it, because it was Citizens Bank that owned the paper on the Florida properties. And believe me, the bank doesn't want to have your property, right? But
Right.
she gave me some really good advice, and she was, actually surprised that I had called. But in the end, it took me 5 years. I followed the Dave Ramsey program for 5 years. And
I want to reiterate that 5
5
years. And you inspired me for 13 years, not 5 minutes or 13 minutes. These are very long periods of time where you have to be focused and diligent.
Yeah.
And you say these things with such grace. Like, you are saying what you are saying and how you say it are very different. So you're saying these things with such grace. You have walked through fire.
Well, there's a lot of people that have. So here I am. I'm not just broke. I'm $2 million in debt. $2 million. Like, how did I find myself here? And I used to just think, okay, it's only a number, but it's a big number, right? And I'm divorced. And not am I just divorced, but it's one of my friends. It's one of my friends. And so now I've been betrayed on so many levels. And I've often days like maybe I just can't breathe, right? But I got some really good advice, which is one of my close friends said, pick two people, one at work, one not at work, and those are the only people you confide in. Under no circumstances do you ever talk about it. You don't talk about a divorce. That's why I never changed my name. I don't like being Diane Kniowski. My name is Diane Cantoni Kniowski.
Yes, it is.
I did not change my name because I got some advice, and I think it was good advice to just stay the course, be chill, stay the course, right? Don't let anybody know anything's changing too much in your life. So, but at the same time, everything I had for sale, believe it or not, luckily, when I was in Dallas, one of my friends owned an art gallery. And at the time in the 80s, all the big banks were in trouble, and they were, they were getting all their artwork in the lobbies repossessed. And she would call me and say, you need to buy this. I'd be like, it's $8,000. She's like, yeah, okay, you need to buy this. Well, I ended up selling some of that artwork. Like, every time something happened, which one of the short sales, I had to come to the table with money. So even though, like, that $100,000 loan, that wasn't mine, right? When I went to divorce court, here's what ended up happening. I had the 401k. I had the stock. I had the savings account. I had all the artwork. I had the stuff. He didn't have a 401k. He didn't have anything in saving. It was me doing everything. And the judge, I couldn't prove that I didn't know he had like $97,000 worth of credit card debt I didn't know about, which, by the way, he and his girlfriend had a lot of fun on that money. But here's the deal. The court of law was like, yeah, you're married, you're responsible for it. And if he can't pay. So I had to come to the table and pay all that. Now, the $100,000 on the short sale and the Florida properties, I negotiated. And one of the things I did was sell art. I ended up with about $60,000 between my art and jewelry, which is really a lot. And I never knew why I was buying those expensive paintings, but somebody saw the future and made sure, like, I knew. So I was able to pay off all that. And then the worst part is I had to split everything with him after all that debt was paid. So I had to cash in all my stocks. He got half. I had to give him, it's called a quadro. I had to give him half of my 401k. I had to take care of the Florida properties. I followed up for those 5 years. I mean, and in the meantime, he filed personal bankruptcy. So any of the stuff he didn't pay ended up coming back on me. And I call it my $1 million get out of jail free card, because that's how I was able to end that marriage and take over my own life and my own destiny, and not make dumb decisions because I wasn't speaking up, or I wanted somebody to feel better about a deal, or whatever stupid reason we sometimes find. And so really I ended up, after 5 years, I was 50 years old now, and I'm starting over, building wealth from square one. But I've got everything paid. Everything's closed. I never filed bankruptcy. I didn't hurt my credit score very much. I phoned people and kept them. I talked to people every day and every week that I was taking care of stuff, but 5 years. Yeah, I remember thinking, oh, this is going to take about a year. I was really grateful later that it took 5, because it was always a miracle. I would need, like, to close a property for the short sale, the bank would make me come forward with $27,000, and I won $12,000 in a raffle. My sister says there's like a little angel above you.
There is divine timing. You have your angels working for you.
I
But
know.
look at how focused you were, so focused. And I love what you said about momentum. I didn't want to slow the momentum down. And it's intention. Your intention was good and pure. You were communicating with the people. I can't believe that you called the bank that held the note on your house
Yeah.
to have a personal conversation.
Well, and I knew
What a
that.
great idea.
And here's the other thing I want to share with people when you're in a dilemma. Here was my one mantra: don't lose my job, which meant that I had to overperform at my job, which gave me a focus and got the stress off me. But I had to do well at my job, because that was the only way I was going to be able to get out of this and move forward and rebuild something for myself. And so I became a super performer at work. And then, my advice is, on my lesson here is, don't bite off more than you can chew. We should have never bought those properties. And by the way, one was on the Gulf Coast with the park right next to it, on the corner unit on the 3rd floor. I looked it up recently.
Oh, I was just going to say, we're not going to look those up.
It's over $2 million. I'm like, I wish I could have kept that. I wanted to, but I was so broke. There was no way.
So there was a little blip there in 2008, 2009, and 2010, but historically, real estate performs.
It does. That was just a freaking Florida. I mean, are you kidding? I have right now most of my wealth in real estate. That's how much I believe in it, because it's got, it's real, it's physical. And, when you get to my age and you've lost so much, it's like you want to have a tangible something.
Yes.
Instead of just, So
Poof.
for me, it's been a good thing. But I definitely.
And no one knew.
No one knew.
No one knew.
Very few, right? I mean, I did have 2 close friends but no, I never let on about the financial stuff. And I knew that I had to maintain a responsible posture. I didn't want people, here you are running a television station, you have advertisers who want to spend their money with you, and you have to look like you know how to be responsible financially. And this did not display that. And it was hard. It was embarrassing. There's a lot of shame that comes with it. But here's the thing: I forgive myself. It's like I learned a really good lesson, and I learned something else that I moved forward, which was I started noticing at work other people who were getting advances on their paycheck so often that there wasn't any paycheck left, just the advance. And I decided to invite them into my Dave Ramsey, what I call paycheck lunch meetings. So payday was twice a month. And I would invite people in on payday. It was very confidential and private, but so everybody created a budget book. Everybody got a Dave Ramsey, follow the Dave Ramsey book. And I was in shock at the first thing you really have to do is look at, how did you get here? You have to admit to yourself, and then you have to look at, how am I spending money? I mean, there were people in that group that they had debt 5 times their salary. There was no getting out of this. And so some of them had to get part-time jobs because it wasn't going to be a fix. And we also, for some of them, here I was in a 5-year plan. So they had 5-year plans. But every other Friday, we had a couple of rules. One is you had to give me your credit cards, and I kept them in an envelope in my office because you had to quit using them. And then the second one is we wrote checks out of their checkbook, and I mailed the bills from that lunch so that the bill.
Just hold on a second here. So your head is down. You've sold assets to pay people back because that was a standard you set.
Mm-hmm.
You're working, you've got your blinders on. I know that Diane's schedule was to work a full day and pour into her team at the station. And then when everybody else left, that's when she sat and went through her email and replied to emails, because that's when you would get answers from Diane. And you probably were there from like 5 to 7 or probably later. And being part of a TV station, you do a lot of after hours events.
Oh, yeah.
And entertaining and just being part of this amazing community that we live in. And you were always there. And now you're spending your lunch
right every other Friday
with your team, and you bought them lunch.
I bought them lunch, but they had to agree to the rules, and some of them didn't want to, and that's fine.
This is planting it forward.
I had to ask to leave the group because they wouldn't honor. And it's like, yeah, don't waste my time. But for the people that really want to learn how to fix this and then manage it in the future. And most of these people, their spouse didn't know about the debt. And some of the debt was huge. One person, it was over $100,000. And when we pulled back credit cards to look at where was that money, it was stupid stuff. It was buying
all consumable stuff,
gifts for grandkids, all kinds of stuff that was like, you really can't afford to do it. Why do you keep doing it? And then there were people that every time they received you can get a credit card thing in the mail, they just got a credit card. No responsibility about how am I going to pay this or what am I spending? And then I would get stuff like, well, they shouldn't have sent it to me. It's like, seriously? Don't.
You have impacted so many lives. When you gave me the opportunity at WOTV for Women, you also went to every one of our whatever our forte was, and mine's was health and wellness and food. You attended all the classes too.
Yeah.
Super woman.
Well, if we were going to put it on the air and ask other women to do it, I needed to know what exactly it was. And so, Margaux, I remember, so I did the yoga with Michelle 5. I did your 30 days of raw food. And I was like, yes. What do I eat? Like, I did every single program because I wanted to make sure it was something that women could accomplish and do. And actually, it all was. I mean, it was a lot of fun. My best fun part was being around someone like you that has all these ideas and energies and commitment. I mean, you totally walk your walk in which you never had a paper or a plastic product on anything. You brought glass dishes and glass glasses and towels. And I'd be like, I'm embarrassed about the amount of plastic, right? But I learned so much from the women. And the biggest thing I learned was, how much energy everybody had. And I really liked being around all the energy of the women and all the different categories, financial, food, health. It was fun.
In talking about groups of energy that groups of women that give you energy, and maybe some groups of women that did not support you, before we move on to the real estate investing, talk about that, because who you surround yourself with matters. So
here I am going through a divorce. I'm feeling old. I mean, she was 20 years younger, blonde and pretty. And all of a sudden I'm like, I'm trying to lose weight. I'm coloring my hair. I'm like, and then I was like, okay, hold on. I joined a couple of groups, and 2 of them, but one was a very big group of divorced women. And I realized after like the 3rd meeting, I didn't want to be around these women. These were women that had not had any job skills. They mostly were on, they didn't work. They had no idea how much money their husbands made. They had no idea what the property was. They were basically lost, and they hadn't really done anything with their life, and they were really, I guess, in a very negative place. And I remember thinking, okay, I can't relate here. But it wasn't because they weren't financially educated. It was because they chose not to do anything else except for kind of be mopey and complain about men. And I was like, yeah, no. So
Yeah.
I had to look at, and it is important who you're surrounding yourself with. I mean, that's why I'm around you right now. As soon as I was able and I just retired, I looked you up and I'm like, I'm on board with whatever you're doing, because I want to be where the energy is. I want to keep growing. I'm 70. I don't want to stop being vibrant and mentally vibrant, and I'm not done yet. Right. So, I really had to pick and choose, even friends that I started to eliminate slowly and politely and nicely. They never knew, but I had to start backing away from certain relationships because I needed, I had enough crap to think about all day, and I really needed to have get energy from other people and realize, that the world is whatever you create it to be, And so my lesson is, you can make mistakes. You're gonna make mistakes. Learn from them and build your wealth that won't fail you. Owning all those properties was dumb. Had we had one, we would have been fine. Had we set money aside, we just did a lot of stupid things thinking we knew better, and we didn't. And we didn't call an expert like you. We should have called an expert like you. We ended up using one. I ended up using one to help me get out of it. And so, I had to figure out, I've got to rebuild all this. What am I going to do? And I knew the one thing I had, it was my brain. It was my ability to understand and be a good boss, and to find success for the news department and for the sales department, and have a healthy, low turnover, work environment where we could all accomplish things. And so I actually got training. I hired a coach that helped teach me how to build a team, and everybody got to learn from that. And then at the same time, we hired a research company to teach us about brand, and I ended up propelling those into my personal life and future. But trust me, I had to recognize my weaknesses, understand my strengths, and maximize my strengths and downplay my weaknesses. And just, after you do a 5-year, like Margaux, I remember you building your garden and your house, and you had an 8-year plan. You were the first person I met that had an 8-year plan for anything. We live in the immediate want it now gratification world.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so stick in the course of a 5-year plan. And I want you to know, the people that we got out of debt in that work, debt-free lunch thing, they're still out of debt. One of my favorite stories is my friend who, she had her son's wedding, her daughter's wedding, 2 back-to-back years, didn't put a single thing on a credit card. She got rid of that debt. She got another job working part-time in addition, but she got rid of that. And she's, helping people in her family do it now, because
Look at that. You're planting it forward and it just keeps going. That's why I love using garden analogies for wealth building, because the same rules apply. And none of it happens overnight, and you have to keep planting good seeds, and you have to keep planting because not all of those seeds are going to sprout. And there's just so many things, and you've got to put in the work. Everybody wants to show up on installation day, and everybody wants to show up 5, 8, 13 years later when the party goes, because you've accomplished something big. Nobody wants to show up to weed and water. Nobody.
Yeah.
Except for Diane in 10th grade showing up in that
That's less
dorm.
than 12. And I remember going to like my 20 or 30-year class reunion. I can't remember. Believe it or not, I went to my 50-year class reunion. And a couple of my friends said, yeah, you were so smart. You did that. I thought I was the dummy. I didn't know they thought I was smart. They were at the beach getting a tan. I was like,
Yeah.
but they,
And I always tell the time reveals all truths.
Mhm.
And even our kids right now who are making smart business or financial decisions because of the fire that we walk through and they
Mhm.
walk through with us, they're watching their friends buy brand new cars,
Yeah,
take trips, do these things, and it feels bad in the moment.
yeah,
Those hard decisions are hard. I mean, you've dropped so many, it's not easy, and so many gold nuggets. It's not easy or convenient, and
it's
you're
not.
going to watch other people do that, and you have no idea what's happening behind the scenes, because just like you said, nobody knew.
Nobody knew.
Okay, so before going into real estate investing, do you want to sum up your lesson of all that we talked about on this section?
Um, yeah, I would say have a plan for your money and know where your money's going, even if it's to pay off and get out of debt. I knew where every penny was going before I even put it there. I knew what my commitment was. I knew what my plan was. And by the way, on the front of my budget book, and I had a little budget book for each one of the properties that I was underwater in. And on the front, it said, I am debt free and being rewarded by much revenue that's coming my way at this very minute. Everything I did on my mirror, it was like I am debt free and living a great life and grateful for everything that I'm being given. I always started with I am debt free because I was
I'm
$1
debt
million
free.
in debt. And so I actually saved that off the front of my budget book. I saved.
Oh, as you should. And talking about mindset, you said something really powerful to me about your mindset, which really is your money mindset as an adult, but your mindset even as a child growing up, or maybe when you were a teenager thinking about going into adulthood. Talk about what that vision was and then how you feel like that carried you. Your
Well, I always had this story from my mom. First of all, my mom used to say to me all the time, you need to have your own money because it gives you better choices, right? You need to make your own life because you get to have bigger, better decisions, right? Don't just let somebody carry you through life, right? Go ahead and do this. But the other thing is I remember knowing like we had a home and my mother saved, it cost $10,000. It was like maybe 1,200 square feet. There were 9 of us in there. I shared a bedroom. There were 5 girls in a bedroom, right? But we were so
So it
great.
was it 5 girls, 2 brothers,
Yes.
and then parents? Okay.
So
It's
there's
a big family in
yeah,
1,200 square
Italian
feet.
Catholics. Yeah. Oh yeah. Believe me, it was a lot of people in a small amount of room. But here's the thing. We were so proud of that house. And my mother would let us know all the time. And we did know because, even though we were poor, my mom was a volunteer, my aunts were, and they used to take us with them. So we got to see people who had less than us. But what I knew was having a home, it was like having a soul place to settle. It was like, oh, right. We had grounded, rooted place to belong. And
Mhm.
so I think that was always somewhere that I wanted to have a home, right? I wanted my family members to have homes. I just knew what a difference it would make. And I just remember my mom telling a story. So I felt very grateful that we were able to buy that little tiny house, which I think they lived in for like 30 some years. So, yeah, I look at
So
it now, like, how did
powerful.
we all fit in there?
Oh no. And you are such a tight-knit family, and I love that. Your family's still supporting you, liking and commenting on the post to promote even this episode. So, okay, so let's move forward to today. Today's portfolio,
Yes.
what does that look like?
So, so I decided, okay, I got to make up for stuff. So every opportunity that I could get promoted, even though it was a ton of work and it was a big pain and it was hard, I took it. because I was trying to make the most money I could. And my real estate journey kind of started because remember, I've lost my home, right? And so it ends up that I'm coming to visit a friend of mine, and she lives on the Rogue River in this house. And I'm like, oh my gosh, right? This is like the house of healing and peace. I said, if you
Mm.
ever sell this house, you need to call me. And she goes, well, 2 doors down on the river, there's a house, but the bank owns it. And I think it has mold. And so that was a Saturday. I called the bank on Monday and I got a tour. And sure enough, there was black stuff all over the ceiling and the walls. And it turned out that that black stuff was pine sap, that whoever had added on that pine ceiling and walls didn't seal it. And so I ended up buying that house from the bank. And it was $160,000. And I paid cash. I had set up a savings account and I was doubling up and doubling down on the 401k and then some, right? As much money as I was legally allowed to put into 401ks, IRAs, and anything, I did it. But I also had that savings account. And so I remember debating, should I take out a mortgage? And I thought, no. One of the things Dave Ramsey taught was consider the fact that maybe you shouldn't buy it until you have the cash to buy it. I mean, that's how he lives. Now he's a billionaire and it's easy to say that, but he wasn't. He was a guy who got himself so far in debt. I mean, it almost wrecked his marriage, his family life, everything. And so anyway, I bought it, and it needed to be updated a little bit. And so I used my money, had it updated, and had it furnished with the intention of moving in. But then I ended up moving in with my boyfriend, and I decided to rent it. And here's what's interesting. Keep your eyes open and watch what's happening. I started to see that the people that wanted to rent a furnished house that had dishes, silverware, was this very niche market of people that were either going through a divorce, building a house, or remodeling a house. They were in transition. And what they needed was all their stuff in storage, or they just brought their clothes with them because they were getting divorced. They needed to walk in and just sit down and everything was there. And so I was like, okay, this is really good, because I had so many calls on it, and I never had 2 days in a row that it wasn't somebody else didn't come in. And at first it was all women going through divorces, and they all had money, but they had nowhere to go. And it was this beautiful, beautiful house. And so one day the neighbor knocks on my door and says, hey, this little cabin next door on the river? Well, would you be interested in buying it? And it was this little 2-bedroom. So I thought, okay. So I did the same thing. I bought it for cash. I furnished it.
How did that person know that you maybe would be interested? Did you tell that person
No,
too?
no, but they saw what I was doing. I had introduced myself. They knew my friend who lived on the other side,
Okay.
right? And so it
So
started.
you put it out there to a person that could have
She might have
told
said
them,
something, I don't know, but I
but
think
you put it out there to the universe too.
I
And
did
the
put it out to
universe,
the universe. And I think what they saw is I fixed it up and then I never moved in. And so that's why I think they contacted me. And so I went ahead and purchased that one and did the same thing. And this was more like a guy's place because it was a little rustic cabin, totally furnished, dishes, silverware, all of the above. And I had it rented constantly. And it was the same thing. It was somebody coming back from the military that needed a place for 6 months, a woman going through a divorce. She lived there for a year. I mean, it always was someone in transition. And so what I discovered is maybe I have something different that you're not going to find in any other rental. And what do I want to do here? And the other part was I didn't have any debt. I couldn't get myself in a situation like I already was because nobody owned the paper but me. Like I didn't own payments on it. So whatever happened. And by the way, it gave me some flexibility sometimes to help that person and give them a break on something, or they could put the deposit later because I had some flexibility because I didn't have any debt on it.
and I think you brought up something so simple, and a lot of many people don't even consider not having a mortgage. It's like mortgage is standard operating procedure, and banks would like us to think that,
Right.
but it doesn't have to be. You don't have to have a mortgage. So that was a big thing for us to be able to make payments. And so it takes work and sacrifice. And I too took on multiple jobs to be able to make huge lump sums every month to pay that mortgage off.
And get right. And here's the thing. I've also financed a house. It's not like I didn't just take out mortgages, but not multiple mortgages. I mean, I put myself in a place that I know I had to learn that lesson for the future, because I was going to, I'd rather be stupid when I'm younger than stupid when I'm older. But either way, I only have myself to blame, and I only had myself to fix it. And so it just, I started looking at different properties, and I found another one. I did the same thing. I bought it, I furnished it, I rent it, and it's always women. Or I did have a couple there that were remodeling their house. And so it's been really interesting that, because I thought, oh, maybe I could contact some of these big companies that people are moving in and they could. No, it's really been about people more in transition. I didn't ever need to contact those companies because the houses, sometimes people would call me before, I didn't even have it out there for rent for about a day or two.
Wow. So
Yeah.
that's three: debt-free, cash
Mhm,
flowing,
mhm.
if you buy them without a mortgage, and
Right.
they're cash
Right.
flowing. And then, so are there more, or did you stop at
Well, so
three?
I'm a partner in a house on Boswick Lake that um, we really kind of had to move out of. And so remember I told you my friend who I had said, if you ever are gonna, sell this house, call me. So one day I get a call and she's like, hey, remember you said you'd be interested in buying my house? I'm in Florida and I found a place. And if you want to buy my house, let's figure out a price. And I'm going to buy this place in Florida. And she
Oh.
actually made the mistake of telling me what she owed on the house. I go, never do that. As your friend, let me go contact a realtor. And I
Yeah.
got some estimates. I wanted to be fair. And that's the one thing I want to tell you. Karma is not what you want to mess with. You want to be an upright person in all the places, even when nobody else knows. You want to do the right thing. It's always going to get you better on the other side of things. And so I told my friend, don't tell anybody what you paid. I'm going to have an outside realtor come in, and paid her for pulling comps and giving a fair and reasonable price. And so I wanted to buy that house, and I'm like, okay, here's my dilemma. If I buy this, I'm going to have to take money out of my 401k. I'm trying really hard to really stack my 401k because I pretty much lost most of it. But I decided to take the money out of my 401k because it was like, do I want a mortgage or this? I'm still living on Boswick Lake. I'm going to rent this place. But I decided, okay, that's when I started looking at diversifying where my money was and making sure I had a balance between how much I had in property and how much I had in 401k or stocks or things with my company. And I was
You earned the right to do that.
well, I did
And
do that.
it's numbers. It boils down to just numbers. That's why the revenue logo is black and white, because numbers are black and white.
Mhm.
And you just look at the math, and the path you will always find in the math.
That's right. And I remember people telling me, put the money back in your 401k, which believe me, I really tried to maximize. But I also, and here's the other thing I want to tell you. At the time, I also got an offer to take a really big job that had really big pay, but I had to have an address in Miami, which meant that I was now going to rent out this house and get this ready. But believe it or not, my friend moved out and just took her clothes. She left all her dishes, all her furniture. She sold it to me 100.
Furnished and
Yeah.
accessorized.
Yeah. So And I negotiated this package at the end. It was a 5-year project. It would finish when I was 70. So I just turned 70 in December of last year, but it would help me repopulate and replenish all the money I'd lost in my 401k. Plus there was a big package at the end for us hitting our numbers. And here's what I got to tell you. Don't believe everything you read, because I didn't get that money. My boss that brought me in for the 5-year contract ended up leaving after 3 years. He was a super wonderful guy. And the other guy that he brought in, big visionary, but didn't know anything about local media. And the team started making decisions that pushed the money somewhere and over projected budgets. And we started having a situation where the company was having trouble basically making its mortgage payment. And so, I mean, they're doing fine now, but that exit package, it like poof.
It wasn't what you had worked for, or
no, it was a lot smaller. But here's the thing. Okay, that happens. What are you going to do? Right? I mean, I'm still grateful. And I've since, I had all this furniture in Miami. And so I shipped it here and put it in one of the houses. It looks like a Miami girl bling.
I was just going to say, probably looks like a Florida house.
Yeah, but guess what? It's like it's one of the houses that have been rented. And so I've been really lucky. I have 2 properties in Pennsylvania, which my family live in, and I don't charge anything because I still am at the core of what my mother shared, which is there's no place like home. And having a home does something inside you that makes you feel like a whole person. And it's so important in people's lives. And so some of the people that I helped that worked, like they were going to lose their homes. They were so in debt. I mean, there was just so much misinformation, but also bad decision making. And I could totally relate to that. So
do you get contacted even now from those people telling you how, I mean, because I keep telling you over and over how
like
much
president of my
you've
fan club
impacted my life.
Yes,
And have you had some pretty good success stories from that paying it forward?
Yes. And you know what? I've been invited to weddings. I've been invited to some of the family things, and I hold that like very dear. I mean, it's really special to me because you decide who you want to be. Everything about you is your choice. And let me tell you, if I can, like what I had to go through the last 10 years to regain my financial life and build wealth and buy properties and diversify and have a retirement plan, it was not easy. It was extremely hard and it was extremely inconvenient. I mean, a couple years in a row, I was on an airplane 46 out of 52 weeks, traveling to cities. I was building stations with so much resistance. It wasn't easy, but I was doing my job. And I always knew that consideration and kindness were going to go a long way, and over communicating the plan. So if I had a plan for the station and then the local portion of the company, I also had a plan for me. I had a plan for my family. I had a plan for, how I always have a plan. And that plan has flexibility. But here's the thing I tell everybody. Every single step of everything I did since I was a kid, I was scared to death, all the way up to an $850 million local operation. But I did it anyway. I did it anyway because I didn't want fear and my self-doubt to impact things. So I just pushed myself right into it. And there would be days, literally, I would be praying. I'd be praying in my car on the way to the airport for traveling for the big meetings or the budget meetings. Whatever it took for me to feel okay about it, I still showed up. And I want people to know, because we started trying to hire people and they're like, they don't want to work that hard, or, they don't want to go to school when they don't know, what they're going to be and use that degree for, and that's okay. But it's not going to be easy. It's already going to be tough. Just go and do it. What's the worst that happens? You don't like it,
I think it's so important. So that's courage. It doesn't mean that you are fearless.
No.
You act in spite of fear.
Right. And I believe real estate is like the win-win. You get to have the asset the physical, tangible thing. It's not some stock or 401k that you don't know about and it's over here. It's a building. You can touch it. You can, and you can get rent from it, or you can live in it and not pay rent, right? But the bottom line is you still have the asset. And so, like, I'm a huge fan. And for the first time, like, I'm taking some recommendations from you and reading some of those books. And what I'm looking at now is, okay, maybe I'm in a place where I should leverage one of the properties and go buy another one, right? One at a time.
Put that money to work for you.
Put the money to work for me. I'm going to let you help me learn that, because I don't trust myself. You're the expert on that. I know what I want the end game to look like, which is, I really want what I call that recurring revenue stream,
revenue. That's why we named our revenue. Because even if it's your home sweet home and there's no place like home, your money is working for you while you are building a life and raising kids maybe and building a career. There's money behind the scenes that's working for you. And right now, actually, there are so many people sitting on so much equity that could be put to use to give them more revenue than they are getting right now from it.
Well, so they need to call you, because what I love them. Here's the thing.
This is not, she's going off the script.
You did. Okay. Because I learned things along the way. Right. And for sure, what I learned was I need the expert to walk beside. That I can only do so much, and I don't have to know it all. I have to hire somebody that knows it all. I have to work with someone that knows it all. And, for me, it's kind of fun. I think there's days I think, oh my God, I'm 70. Do I really want to be a landlord and anymore? And then there's days I think, heck, I'm 70. I can do this,
That's right.
So
there's always good days and bad days. And thank you for saying that. It means the world to me. I want to be that professional at the table with the lawyers and the CPAs, because for most people, their real estate, their home sweet home, there's nothing like home. For most people, it's the largest asset that they have.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so why wouldn't you have your real estate professional there at the table with you?
Yeah, I know, right?
To make smart decisions.
Well, and once you get to know what I'm trying to do and what I have to work with, you can look for me. You can say, okay, I know you like these type of neighborhoods. And I know you like, to cater to, women in transition, or and here's a place. But what's also remarkable, and I believe fate and karma are always acting in my best interest, because here we are, Margaux, in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Okay, look at all the things that are going on here. And it's
Diane, explode.
Number one, up and rising. I mean, if you're not investing in real estate now, you're missing something, because the truth is, it's only going to get bigger. And we have these wonderful people that have lived here and invested here, and they're creating this incredible city. Being, the general manager of Wood TV and OTV, I was lucky enough to be a part and witness of the 20-year plan that the founding people and the political and city scene were building for us. And it was nothing short of smart. It was smart and right, and they were doing it right. And so now here we are, and there's all this opportunity that property value is just going to keep going up. And so
thank you. As I sit here, when we're working at our home office, there is construction literally all around us in Canal Park, and buy real estate up here. And buy real estate right now. It's a mess, and it won't be next summer. The museum, Gillette Bridge, they just finished that. The amphitheater, the stadium.
And then what they want to do with the river.
Yeah, that's coming. And then there's a trail that's going to connect Lowell to Lake Michigan. And actually, tomorrow we get to interview Grand Action 2.0, Cara Wood, the executive director. We have been trying to get her on Coffee with Steve and Margaux. We interview her tomorrow. And today, Diane, I don't know if you can see it very well. This article came out about the plan to boost the population in downtown. It just broke this morning and they interviewed me for this. I haven't even had a chance to read it yet. Today has been so busy, but there's so much going on here. It is a great place
It
to
is.
live, work, play, and invest.
Absolutely. And, being a part of seeing that plan, they went to Portland, Oregon, where every place else you got a job in your major. You got the job and you moved to the city, except for Portland. You moved to Portland, and then even if you were a lawyer, but you could wash dishes, that's what you did. So they gathered some of the best growing city plan, even Austin, what they did with their river, and they put together, I mean, it's just been remarkable. And it had 10-year windows, and I got to witness and watch them. And now it's like kaboom, it's all coming in. And so, I'll be looking more down the real estate road because I feel extremely comfortable in it. And I know that I can work with you and, not make dumb mistakes. But here's the thing. You're going to fail, and then just pick yourself up and fix it. And you're going to learn more about fixing it than you would have thought possible. And it's going to make you feel stronger. So don't be afraid to make mistakes and fix them and move forward, because life is
that advice really hit home this week for me personally with an investment. So your lesson for today's portfolio and looking ahead is focus.
Yeah, focus. You can build it, but sacrifice and inconvenient are always going to be part of the path. Always. Don't fear it. Don't worry about it. Just do it. Have a plan, stay on the plan, and make decisions based on the plan, not on emotion. So
that's hard. It's easier said than done. So we're going to recap the lessons. Learn what it feels like to be debt free, because freedom feels so good.
Mm-hmm.
Lesson 2, don't bite off more than you can chew. And if you do, be responsible for your actions.
Mm-hmm.
Your mother would be so proud. Lesson 3, have a plan for your money and always know or check where the money is going. Lesson 4, learn from your mistakes, build wealth that won't fail you. Lesson 5, if you really focus, you can build it, but sacrifice and inconvenience are always involved. You're going to pay the rent one way or another.
Yeah. And do it all with a smile on your face and a kind word, because trust me, there are days like I'm swearing out the side of my mouth because I have to get it out. But bottom line is I'm grateful. I'm very grateful. So,
and that has been the golden thread through your whole journey and what has kept you sane and still here and healthy and happy and resilient at 70. Wow. This last 20 years has been something for you.
Has. I paid all that debt and I rebuilt more than that. So it works. It works.
So if anybody watching has a question, pop it in here. You've just been like, people have been mesmerized, I am sure of it. I cannot wait to hear the comments. If you are joining us for the private mastermind, so Club RVNU is a financial well-being club for women. And we meet once a month virtually like this. We have a guest speaker that comes on and just drops gold nuggets for us and inspires us in different ways. And then that's public, but then we have a private mastermind. It is not recorded. All females that are interested in financial well-being, wealth building, learning about net worth are invited. It is free, and you go to clubrvnu.com to register. Again, private and unrecorded. So we all stay accountable and can ask the questions that you may feel uncomfortable asking in person. This is a safe place.
And I want to say, thank goodness that you have this, right? Because I tried to get a group together of women investing and I couldn't get it off the ground. And this was back when I started, and I wanted everybody to bring like $15,000, or like, we don't have it. How about 10? How about 5? Right. But I could not get it off the ground. The women weren't interested. And I'm like in shock. That's why this is so wonderful. And if you are listening, you need to get involved, because women building wealth it's really critical for you. It's really important, and it's very empowering.
And I believe more money in the hands of women will change the world.
Oh, absolutely. We already changed the world.
That's right. Well, Diane, thank
Yes.
you so much.
Thank
You
you.
have, and I don't say this just to say this, that you have literally changed our lives.
Oh, I'm so glad. And Margaux took on something. I was doing a vitamin product that I introduced to her, and Margaux became like one of their top salespeople for introducing that product. And it's really so I introduced you, but you actually did all the hard work. But
Diane, 13 years going strong.
you got
We
your
walk the walk. We
you
talk the
definitely.
talk. And what I loved about that and the beauty of it, so that team is now almost 6,000 people. And what I love about it is by helping people, and mostly women, because that's who's in my circle, by helping women take care of themselves,
Mhm.
there are such rewards if they choose to use them. So that is a win-win to me. And then my goal has always been to use those rewards and plant those seeds in real estate. So the real estate spins off more seeds and everybody's winning.
Absolutely. And by the way, I still take all those products because I think they're good. They're just good for me. And so I
They're
still,
good. Not 13 minutes, 13 years. 13
right?
years.
Right? That's what I'm saying, man. People got to understand, be in it for the long haul. If
Yes,
you would have
ma'am.
told me it would have taken me 5 years to get out of debt and get divorced, I would have been fainting at the thought of it. But then I was glad for the pace of it because I could manage it. And so I just didn't know that it was really the right road for me to do. And the length of time was going to be smart. And after that, I realized I had a 5-year business plan. I had a 5-year plan at work. I just made 5 years my window because it worked.
I can do it. I
I,
am sure you inspired so many people this evening and you planted it forward once again. And I can't wait to see where these seeds go and how they grow and the feedback that we get. So now we are going to jump over to the private mastermind. Go to clubrevenue.com. Diane, I hope you can join us
I
tonight.
know.
And that's just 30 minutes. And we kind of just download, recap, mastermind. And I will see you there.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you for watching and listening. Thanks, Margaux. Thanks, Steve.
Bye, everyone. And remember, plant good seeds.